Hi, everybody. As you know, mostly my show has been live lately with questions and answers from all of you. But every once in a while, I like to bring on a very special guest. I never know who's going to pop onto my radar, but when I find them, I know this is the one. And that's the case with today's guest. I'm going to introduce you to somebody you may already know, but perhaps not in the light we're sharing today. I'm going to bring her on now, then we'll talk about her so she's not sitting back there twiddling her thumbs. Our guest is Stepfanie Kramer. Stepfanie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You are welcome. Well, everybody, I got to know Stepfanie because she reached out about interviewing me for her podcast, The Other Side. And as you will feel, if you can't feel it already, she just has this beautiful energy about her. And we just clicked, which is called coming into resonance. And I said to her at the end, well, that was a great interview, but I want to interview you for my show because this is a woman who really gets what the awakened way is all about, even if she never put it in those terms. I know she knows we're not only human, and I know she knows we're all connected by one big web, and that love is the basis of all that is, and that's the awakened way. But let me tell you a little bit about Stepfanie that you may say, oh my gosh, yeah, now I know who she is. She's perhaps most well known for playing Sergeant Dee Dee McCall on the hit show Hunter. That started in 1984. I was deeply immersed in my Navy career then, Stepfanie, so I actually don't know the show at all.
That's okay. It's on reruns everywhere.
Yeah, so I hear it's really popular in China. Is that right?
It was huge in China. It still is. They invited me just last year, and it was so humbling because they were honoring me from way back because when they opened up their country to receive any television whatsoever, they only chose two programs, and one was Hunter.
Oh
So
my
it
gosh.
became this national phenomenon culturally through everybody. It was really amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you became a national phenomenon because you were this beautiful, powerful female police sergeant at a time when that wasn't focused upon on TV, right?
That is correct. Yeah, they didn't have generally speaking, I was a character that was a woman who held her own alongside this man. And it wasn't, I was this subversive to him, or what should we do, or crying in the corner. No.
Okay,
So
awesome.
it was nice. It was a wonderful opportunity. I'm
That's
grateful I had
great.
it.
All right. Well, and then when I read through the list of other shows you were on, oh my gosh, everybody, you ready to be just catapulted back to the past? Listen to some of these shows that she's been on. Guest starred on Starsky and Hutch, Dynasty, Knots Landing, Bosom Buddies, CSI, NCIS, 911, and others. Boy, is that a flash to the past.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is for me too.
And then I understand you started a second career as a professional singer and songwriter.
Actually, I always was. I always was. I started in musical theater when I was, started in high school. Briefly, when I graduated, I wound up auditioning and getting cast as Maria in West Side Story, the Valley Institute of Musical Theater out here in LA, which is no longer here. But opening night was my 18th birthday. And I was trained as a legit mezzo soprano. And the board of directors of the academy, which is where I wound up going to school, the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, said, we got to go to New York, And I was like, nah, I think I'm going to stay in LA and join a rock and roll band and have some fun. And they were like, but that's what I did. And I wound up singing four sets a night, 5 nights a week in clubs all over California. And at the same time, auditioning and starting to build my resume working in television. And I told my agents, one of them's going to take off, and whichever one that is, I'm going to go with. And it
Awesome.
turned out to be television.
Okay. So that's your backstory, but I want your current story and what led to it, because I can tell you've had experiences, and we discussed a few when we were chatting after you interviewed me
Mhm.
about some spiritually transformative experiences you've had. And so, what led you to host the Other Side podcast?
It's it's just like natural for me to do that. you know, I I listen to, as many people do, on YouTube or read books, spiritual books, higher learning, whatever you want to call it, the esoteric sciences. Um, and I've always resonated with that ever since I was about 7 years old.
Hmm.
So when I was a little child, my mom had one, maybe two books on Edgar Casey.
Oh, sure.
And I remember being 7 years old and opening that book and reading it and going, yes, well, yes, of course.
Oh, I love that.
It was sort of like a remembrance,
Ah, yeah.
not like, I don't understand, this doesn't make sense, or this is weird. It felt totally natural to me. She also had this very old book called Phantasms of the Living that dealt with a lot of documented cases of paranormal and supernatural things. And in reading that, it felt, well, yes, of course.
Oh, see, at 7 years old, that's amazing. And no wonder you felt that way because you hadn't built up this materialist story yet and turned your focus outward. You were still aware of who you are.
Yes. And
Yeah.
I also started, honestly, getting visits from people that passed over when I was a child.
Oh, see, we love these stories. So
Ah,
yeah,
well,
why don't
you
you
don't love
share
them
one?
when you're 7, though. They kind of freak you out. You know what I
Us?
mean?
Okay. So
Yeah.
can you remember any in particular and how you reacted and if you shared it, that kind of thing?
There's a lot, but I can tell you, for example, this is one that's probably common with a lot of people, I would think, is my father died when I was 12.
Oh, no.
And shortly after his death, he basically stayed in the house. I'm sure his soul was shocked at having to suddenly depart so quickly, and he left behind a young mother and a 12 and a 13-year-old. And I think that was his intention. I'm not ready to go. What do I do with my family? I think a lot of souls do that before they truly then disengage, at least for a period of time.
May I
Um,
interrupt here a second? Because I have a bit of a different perspective on that, that they absolutely hang around, and yet their soul is fully aware that there's nowhere to be but here in awareness, which would include across the veil and here. So I actually don't feel that souls are stuck. It's a
oh,
choice. And you
I
didn't
don't
use that
mean,
word, but a
yeah.
lot of people go to fear, Stepfanie. I know this when they hear
Oh,
that. And that was a
oh.
choice your dad made, but his soul was perfectly fine in allowing him to hang out with all of you.
Absolutely. And I agree with you 100%. No, he wasn't stuck. He was just bouncing back and forth across the veil. But when he was alive, we had one of those old low to the, those mid-century stereo cabinets.
Oh,
Remember those
yeah.
big old record player things with, like,
Oh, we had one. Yep.
right? A dozen knobs and okay.
Yeah.
So he used to always get irritated as a turn off the power switch, turn off the power. And we'd always forget because we were kids. So shortly after his death, my brother and I were in the living room doing something, and all of a sudden we heard click, and we thought, that's the power. And we looked and we watched every single knob all the way down from right to left turn off. And I went, oh, it's dad.
Oh, that's a good one. That's not just the radio came on, right? You
No,
saw the
we saw
movement.
it. Yeah,
Oh,
and I didn't scare me. I just said, "Oh, sorry, Dad. We'll try to remember," because I knew it was him. I was never
I got
frightened by it.
goosebumps.
I was never, and I heard him. He used to walk around and lock the doors at night after we'd go to sleep, and I would lay there and I'd hear him. He'd walk front door. He'd go around. He'd knock. He also would knock on the front door a lot. But he would go and walk around the house, and I'd hear his footsteps on the wooden floor, and it would come down the hallway and come into my bedroom, and he would sit on the end of my bed, and the bed would go poof where he was seated. And so I knew it was him. And I just thanked him for being there, and that he was loved and he was missed, and whatever else I said. I don't know.
Did you share that with your mom?
I believe I did at the time. Yeah, I believe I did at the time.
I imagine she would be open to that if she had those books you mentioned around the house.
Yes, yes. But she also, I mean, she was in a great deal of grief at the time and
Sure.
a lot of stress. But I always thought that was kind of interesting. And boy, there's so many. I mean, I used to go hiking up in the Santa Susana Mountains, which
I
is out
never heard of
in
those.
the
Hmm.
Chatsworth area, big rocky caves and stuff.
Hmm.
And I spent a lot of time on weekends. Just, you drop your kid off at 10 and you pick them up at 5, and they would just ramble around in these rocks. And I'm was just, that was when you could do that.
Yeah.
And I was coming around a path that I knew very well toward a cave I was going to with my friend who was behind me. And I came around it's, you're in the middle of nowhere. I came around and I got that kinesthetic response that the energy field had moved, had
Mm,
shifted, and I was
mm,
now in a different energy. And I
mm.
had been used to that as a child, but I didn't know, whoa, now it was, oh, what's going to happen? Who's here? What's this?
Yes.
And I stopped waiting and I looked, and above, beyond me in the path was a woman holding the hand of a little girl, and she was dressed in like 1860,
Mm.
black collared, big poofy sleeves, long dress. And she
Huh.
was holding the hand of this little child walking up the path. And there's nothing out there. And I looked at her and they stopped and she turned around and just looked at me.
So this is full objective
Yes,
right in front of you.
3D, right,
Yeah.
not transparent.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I just looked at her and I just was like, hi. And she went around, she walked and went around the corner and I ran after her. It was like, wait a minute, wait, I'm going to talk to you. But she was gone.
Huh.
There was nothing there. Not
That's
in
very
this
cool.
dimension anyway.
Yes, that's right.
I've always had veils sort of open up for me ever since I was a kid.
So that has continued then. That didn't stop at age 11 or 12 like it does for many.
No, it didn't. It didn't stop at all. Yeah, I have a lifetime of, wow, am I the only person that sees? Okay.
Wow, I love that. I love that.
It's
Did,
been interesting.
have you ever been used by spirit to deliver a message to someone else from somebody who passed?
Yes.
Can you remember any worth sharing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, which one should I choose?
Wow.
There was a gentleman who's a dear friend of mine, and we were working on a script together. We write together. And I had not seen his brother and his brother's wife in quite some time. And he's like, oh, come on, let's go back and, have lunch with them. It'll be fun. And, went over to their home and on like that Saturday, and we all had lunch together. It was really nice. It was great. It was like, I've known him since I was 18. So it was really catching up kind of a thing. And then on Monday morning, we were back writing. And he said, so wasn't it nice to see him? I go, yeah. And he mentioned that his brother had not been feeling well. And I said, yeah. And I knew, and he he knows me and he knows my abilities and the gifts. And so he's like, what'd you get? And I said, I'd rather not tell you. And he goes, no, I really want you to. I said, I really don't want to share the information. And he said, please tell me.
Hmm.
It's okay. And we saw him in March. And I said, he'll be dead in 3 years in March. And I think it's cancer.
Hmm.
And it was. And he was dead 3 years later in March.
Oh, wow.
And now some people don't want to hear that. But I said, the reason you're getting the information is now you have the opportunity to help him and his wife to prepare,
That's right.
get
Yeah.
all the estate in order, because there was a lot about that, get the family prepared energetically, that sort of a
Yeah.
thing.
That's very interesting because I tell my students, don't ever tell somebody you see they're going to die. And yet there are always exceptions. And I love how you handled that. You really made sure that he wanted to hear. He's the one that insisted with you. And the most important thing is you were sure. A lot of
Oh,
times
positive.
people get random information and then they share it, and it can be very damaging to receive.
No, there
Yeah.
was my ex-husband knew of that would come up every once in a while and say, hey, I got a message about blah, blah, blah. He was bringing some fellow into his company and said, I want you to meet him and tell me what you think.
Oh,
I was like,
good.
okay, all
That's
right.
good.
So we met briefly. It was, I don't know, a 10-minute conversation in the lobby, kind of a thing. And he left. And my then husband looks at me, he goes, what do you think? I go, don't hire him.
Yeah.
And he goes, why? What do you mean? I'm all ready to give him a position. I said, he's a drug addict and he's going to try to ruin your business and he's going to steal money from you.
Wow.
And he's like, well, you got all that just to. I said, just don't hire him. Of course, he did hire him.
I was going to say, I'll bet he did. And then
He
that's what
did.
happened. Oh,
And
no.
every single one of those things happened in approximately 18 months later.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, I hate to say I told you so, but if you ask me, I'll tell you. If you
Yeah,
want to know, don't ask.
that's right. Huh.
So
And how
those
did
sort
your,
of things.
clearly you're very tuned in, and we could just call that intuition. It's just being aware of the connection that's always here with us with higher consciousness.
Yeah.
How did that help you in either of your two careers?
Well, it certainly helped me in regards to being able to deal with certain talent that I had to deal with.
Mm.
I mean, when you work on a show for 7 years or 6 years or whatever it was, I don't know anymore. There's hundreds of people that come through. And like many people, you can feel somebody's resonance.
Oh yeah.
You feel that energy before it even comes in the room, right? And then if it comes in and it's a wonderful energy, you're like, you open up, this is great. Or, that you get a name of some actor that you don't even know, but you can tell from the name and you think, oh, this is going to be a difficult week. I can sense that. And inevitably, it wasn't me projecting onto it or expecting that. It was just being shown.
Yeah, it's an energy thing. Yeah.
It is an energy. It's all energy. So you know how to deal with that in a certain way. Um, I knew, actually, it was 6 years when on Hunter. I knew that I was going to leave after 6 years, even though my contract wasn't up, because I had been told and knew that I was going to get married and have a child.
Mm.
And I was like, yes, that's the next direction for my life. And I can't do that at the level and the depth and quality that I wanted to offer my marriage and my child if I was working 80, 90, 100 hours a week and
Wow.
press tours on weekends and stuff. It's like, no, it's time
So,
for me to make this shift. And thank you for telling me very much. Thank you. And I knew when I got on a plane going to this other place out of state, before I even left, I went, oh, I'm going to meet my husband this weekend. Thank you.
oh, no kidding.
And I did.
Tell me about that moment. Did you know this is the guy intuitively? Was it like a soul thing, or did it unfold later?
It wasn't later. It was very fast.
Yeah.
It was very fast. And I mean, uh, I remember looking at him and going, oh, okay. That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And then when we got to where we were, a group of us, he and I just sort of walked away from the group and hung out the whole time, had a wonderful time. Um, and maybe 2 weeks later, we took a road trip. And when I got back from that road trip, I was like, yeah, I'm marrying this man.
How about that?
Hmm.
But you knew it in advance. I love that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Soul plan there.
It
Yeah.
was a soul plan. I mean, we're no longer married, but it was a soul plan. And I knew that my daughter wanted in.
Yes.
And
That's what I was
and
going to say. It led to her soul's plan.
that's right. And
Yeah.
I knew the dates. And I said, oh, we got to get moving on this now because she wants, and practicing is fun.
Oh
But
my
that was
God.
something I used to be able to do pretty well. I haven't done it in a long time. Maybe it's because I don't see that many pregnant women anymore, but I used to be able to, occasionally I still do, see somebody who's pregnant and I can tell them if it's a boy or a girl and give them the due date
Oh, that's really cool.
or within 24 hours.
Yeah. Wow. So how about motherhood and your spiritual path? Did that change things for you in any discernible way?
Motherhood is a spiritual path.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And it was the most profound, uh, and is the most profound thing I've ever done with my life. And it's the most fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life
Mm.
is being a mother.
And
Truly.
how define profound in these spiritual terms?
Oh, just the depth of joy, the
Mm.
depth of fulfillment for my soul,
Mm.
the awe of being able to have the gift of this little person and watch them grow and change and see the world and help to guide them from a hopefully a loving, you know, with kindness and love and unconditional love, and just watch this soul blossom into a human that you can enjoy and love as an adult. It's great. It's just great. And um, she's quite gifted too, although I can't talk about her
No,
experiences.
I was going to ask, is she also intuitive? Has she seen spirits? If you don't mind going there, if she doesn't mind you saying.
I didn't ask her about that, so I can't tell about her experiences, but yes,
Yeah.
she's quite gifted as well.
Yeah.
She is. She's a
I'm not
very evolved
surprised.
soul. I will share this one story about her that which is already known, so I'm not speaking out of turn, Lily.
Mhm.
Um, she was 22 months old, and I was in her like little toddler bed reading her whatever book I was reading. And I'm reading, it's like a Dr. Seuss thing or something. And then all of a sudden,
I was going to say it was Dr. Seuss. That's
probably, I think you're right. It was
it would
probably
be, right?
green eggs
Okay.
and ham, or something.
Yeah.
Which by the way, I still have. And so,
Oh.
and I'm reading it, and all of a sudden she says, now my daughter has, I think, 7 planets in Scorpio. So she's a very intense human.
Okay.
And she gets this look. And she's sitting there, and all of a sudden she looks at me and she says, Mommy. And by the way, extremely verbal, very advanced communicative
Yeah.
skills.
22 months. Okay. I'm ready.
Yeah. And she says, Mommy. I'm like, yeah. She says, I have something very important to tell you. I said, okay. And she takes her hands, these little tiny baby hands, and she puts it on the book that I'm holding, and she pushes the book down, and she leans into me, and she says, Are you listening? I'd never done that to her. And I'm like, Yeah. And she takes her hand and she puts it right here on my chest. And she starts tapping my heart. And she says, Mommy, it's important that you know and love God in your heart, and remember that He is with you always.
Wow.
And
22
I was
months.
like, I said, Yeah, honey, you're right.
Oh,
And yes, I do. So, yeah, she's
wow.
pretty exceptional.
That's awesome.
She got it. She
And
got
she
it.
chose you. Pretty cool.
Yay, thank you.
Yay. Wow. So she learned that lesson very early. Is
She sure
what
did.
spiritual lesson did it take you decades to learn?
Oh my God. Well, I don't know if I've necessarily learned it. I might
There
still,
we're all still works in progress, no doubt
yeah,
about
I'm
that.
still
But yeah.
evolving and learning. Um, get out of your own way. Stop listening to the voice in your head, that
Mm,
one that every once in a while creeps in and goes, "Ding, ding, 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 ding," and you're like, stop it. You know,
yeah.
the ego,
That I would imagine that would be
conflicting.
very challenging working in Hollywood. Yeah.
Though, I always felt like I remember hearing something that Sam Neill had said. He's recently passed. I was a big fan of his. And I'm paraphrasing now, but I completely agreed with it. And that's how I lived. I said, it's what I do, it's not who I am.
Mm,
And there's a difference. I've talked to a lot of people, actors and well-known people, and they go, well, no, I'm an actor. That's who I am. And I'm like, no, no, that's what you do.
uh-huh.
But who are you? Who are you? And
Yeah.
they couldn't differentiate. For me, it was always a clean delineation.
And who are you, Stepfanie? Who were you then and who are you now?
I'm a woman who is very grateful to be here, who just I try to take joy in everything I do and see the beauty in everything. There's so much, even amidst all the turmoil and everything's going on in life, there is such profound beauty here,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think. And
Mhm.
I see it every day. I walk 5 miles a day and I go out and I will just
Mhm.
stop and be transfixed by whatever, a flower, a bird. And people are like, what are you doing? And I'm like, look,
Yes, great. That is so great.
it's everywhere. The sky or the more natural beauty is what I resonate to. I really love nature. Um, but I'm a soul in progress of learning. And my intention is to, through my work, through my life, through my being and relationships, and just by being here to raise my consciousness to the highest level of vibration that I can, the highest level of love and light, and that resonance is my duty
Yeah.
here to be embodied, to be, and then to hopefully share it with other people and whomever it is that is to resonate with my energy and that light, whoever recognizes it. I can't change everybody. You can't fix the world kind of a thing. And that start with you. Because since you, me, all human beings, all life is interconnected, we are all one from the one source, from the one being, from God. I call it God. And there's no separation. There's never been a separation. People think there is. And I think all religions at some level, except for perhaps Native American belief, has said these are the rules, this is the book, this is the ideology, here's the dogma, it fits right here in this box, and this is how it works. And if you want to reach to the higher level of spirit, you got to go talk to me, or you got to go talk to him, or you got to say these words and talk to her. Otherwise, it ain't going to work. And
Yep.
I'm not here to judge anyone's religion, but that's not been how I live my life. You can have connection with spirit. You don't have to go into somebody else and say, will you do this for me? I mean, we all need help and we can all go to someone and say, can you help me to achieve this? But, for my life, I am a spiritual being in a human body. In this body, my body isn't me.
Did you have to unlearn any religion without naming it, or that you were
I
raised that
wasn't
way?
raised with any religion.
Yeah.
I wasn't raised with any religion at all.
Uh-huh. Did you
None at
have
all.
any favorite, did you read much about spiritual things or have any favorite authors, or probably changed over the years?
Golly, I could pick this up and take you up to show you my bookcase.
I know what it would look like.
Yeah, I bet you do. For me, it's funny. And I know this is from another life. I do believe in reincarnation. Um, Otherwise I wouldn't have said that. But um, even as a little kid, whenever the television or something in a magazine would show a cross or a church, I was like, yeah, I would get this charge. I never told anybody, but I would get a real like, oh boy, I want to go in there.
Mhm.
It was like, oh, I can't wait to go in there. And my family never went there.
Mhm.
And so when I got old enough and started like I'd park in front of some, like a Catholic church, a big cathedral, and I'd walk in and I'd be like, wow. And I still do that. I
Isn't
believe
that beautiful? Yeah.
so much in the power of prayer, or whatever word you want to call it. Power of intention, manifested, focused, energetic, vibration, whatever words you want to give it. I don't really care. Just do it.
Mm.
And I I am guided by my higher self, by what I call God, by my angels, by my birth angels. I believe in archangels. I believe in all of it because I've seen so much of it. And when I read, I'm like, yes, I feel the truth of that.
Yeah.
So I embody that in everything I do. And I mean, in work, I can remember many, many times and I still do this before I would go on stage to sing or step in front of a camera for a scene, or even just to go onto the set before I'd go in front of all the people, I would always take a minute and just say, or a variation of this, may God's light and love emanate from me now, so that whatever is captured on camera or whatever the audience feels, may they feel your resonance. May they feel your light and love. May it go to whomever is open to receive it. And may I be a conduit for you.
That's so
And then,
beautiful.
and
Yeah.
then you have to change your mind because you got to focus on the scene, but you set the intention for the kinesthetic response
Yeah.
and a higher level of response. And you know it is so you can just let it be because you know it's there and put it
What I
out.
love about this conversation is that you've been seeing spirits your whole life. You know the greater reality is real. You're highly intuitive and empathic. You're tuned in. And so many people feel that because they're that way, that they're supposed to make that their career. And you're showing how you work that into your way of being, your life in general. And that's the point of the awakened way. It's being consciously connected, divinely guided all the time. And you may not think of it every moment, but it pervades clearly
Mhm.
your life.
It does. And I think there's every day, all of us have moments in our day where you could make just a simple little choice, a simple little thing, even if it's just hold the door open for somebody.
Hmm.
If can I help you with that bag, ma'am? Just get out of yourself.
Yeah,
You
you're
know,
clearly, we're none of us are perfect, but you are clearly going to have a really nice life review when you cross.
well, hey, I've had my moments too.
I know,
I
that's
am
what I mean. We
still,
all do human things, but those
yeah.
little things, like that moment when you open the door for somebody, you see those things in the life you view because of that butterfly effect. That person you held the door for may be having a bad day, and you just change things for them.
Oh, it happens all the time. I was in a bookshop in Malibu, and I don't remember what I was looking for. And there was a young man that came in. He was maybe 22 or something. He was young. And he was over there. And I'm looking at this book, and I look, and he picked out a book, and I can't tell you right now what it was, but I have it. And I loved it, whatever it was. That's the other
Oh,
thing. I don't
you have both.
necessarily,
Okay.
yeah, that one that he had pulled off the shelf.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, I don't remember the name. And he's looking at it. I said, "Oh, that is a really good book." And he's like, "Oh, you've read it?" I go, "Yeah, it's really good." And he goes, "Yeah." And he said something to me. It's the other thing about these moments. I don't necessarily remember the interchange because it's happening from my higher self.
Mm,
It's not my ego saying it, you know.
love that.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I do
And
know.
so I said he said something, and I responded and had this little conversation with him, and he just stared at me, and he closed the book. He went, "Oh my God, you just told me exactly what I needed to know to solve this problem in my life. I was meant to meet you here today." And I said, "Yes, you were." And buy
Yeah.
that book.
Yeah, I hope he did.
You did. But the point is, that's not unique. That can happen for all of us if you are open to just say, "Hey," you know, and be open to what it is. People tell you who they are. It's your job to remember. And they can tell you without words what it is they need. But you have to listen.
And it's not just listening with the ears. And that word you're using is just key for me. I've been teaching a lot about being open, and it means widening your perspective, widening the lens. Most of us are so focused on our local field, who we are, and they don't open a little, and then you can't help but tune into what's going on around you. And it really is as simple as just saying open, and it happens, right?
Yes. And the word let, I think, is an important word. Let it be.
Like allow. Yeah.
Allow.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And,
Huh.
and bring it in. And then how can I best use this today? Maybe it's just what I have to do later is mop that dang floor in there, but that's okay. At least I get to do that.
That's right.
I mean, I try not to like complain and whine and bitch and moan because the reality is I chose this.
Here's my definition of complaining. It's so helpful. Objecting to reality in a way that isn't helpful. Right? That's what complaining is. So you
I
stop yourself
love
when
that.
you're bitching and moaning and you
Yeah.
say, is this helpful? What's really going on here? This is reality. I can't, but
Right.
maybe I can change this. If you can, change it. If you can't, why complain? Doesn't help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
someone else said that to me, but that's beautiful. The way you just said it is perfect. And something about, well, why aren't you upset over that? And I said, would it matter?
Would it matter? Yeah. Would it help? Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So how about anybody who's listening, who's feeling disconnected? You're so clearly connected. They want some of that. I could summarize what you already said, but let's just really nail it down. For anybody who's listening who doesn't feel that connection, what would you tell them?
Gosh, don't give up on trying to open up to that. Don't think that it's not going to be there for you because you're in a state right now where you feel like you can't receive it. This is a transitory moment. Your life isn't going to be horrible and terrible forever just because it's horrible and terrible right now. This is a blip on the screen. This is a terrible moment. This is a difficult moment. You have to, that's part of the journey. Move through it, grow, expand, heal, whatever you need to do, but don't define the rest of your life. You know, you can have something horrible happen to you and say that was a defining moment, but it doesn't define me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big difference. So if you're in a place where you're not feeling connected, perhaps move your body out of where you're at. You know, the body, mind, and spirit connection. For me, go out to nature, change the energy around you. If you're unable to do that, then put on some meditative music.
I was just going to
Tone.
say, I know that we need to talk about music here because my guys are
Yeah,
saying music, music.
yeah,
You know all about music.
yeah. I mean, the resonant tones for music, they heal your chakras, your body, your cells vibrate to them. Um, I mean, the solfeggio frequencies. Do you listen to that?
Not often, but I don't know a whole lot about them. But why don't you
Well,
educate
I'm
us?
not an expert in it, but and I can't remember what century they were created by some monks somewhere, but I because I don't know, I don't have my little book here with my notes, but there was an anthropologist that discovered these manuscripts that were old sheet music, and they were able to test and determine that the solfeggio frequencies, they activated all these different Hertz patterns that actually activate your organs. There are
Mm.
certain how many hertz is I don't have my chart in front of
The
me.
heart
Uh,
has a certain
yeah,
one.
the
Yeah.
heart has a certain resonance, the brain, the spine, the body, the soul, the whatever. They are so exceptionally healing because
Mm.
tone is energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Music is energy.
And we
It's
come into resonance with it. Your whole field
That's
entrains to
right.
it.
And
Yeah.
it completely changes. It's like I can't listen to a lot of certain types of music because it is so harsh and
Yes.
it is so dark.
Yeah.
And it's based in fear and it's combative. And I'm like, I gotta go, you know, but I can put on other music and absolutely transport myself. So if somebody's out there and they need to shift that energy and you can't get outside and you can't be by nature, you know, if you can take a couple, just 2 minute songs, something that lifts your spirit, put on your earphones and just, okay, okay, and breathe. In Spiritus Santos, breathe the sacred breath.
Mm.
That changes the whole cellular structure. You know that.
Yes.
It changes everything.
Well, my guides just told me that you were a songwriter. We talked about that, right?
I am,
But they
yeah.
told me you have channeled some of your music.
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
Interesting. Why don't you talk about
Um,
that process?
and they just said, hey, how about this? I mean, it's kind of, it's not, well, for example, there was one time I had this friend who was coming over to pick up this song that I needed to complete to take it to the producer. And I was leaving to do a movie the next day. I was leaving the country. And I was stuck on this bridge. And he was coming in an hour.
Musical bridge.
Musical bridge. Pardon me, excuse me. Yes, not a building bridge, musical
Right.
bridge. And I kept going, what's happening here? And I'm feeling a little angst because he's knocking on the door in the hour and I got a hand, you know. And so I said, okay, calm down. And I just meditated. And I said, would you please give me this bridge? And here's the song, and here's what it needs to say. Here's the connective link from the verse till we augment, blah, 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 blah. And could you do that, please? 15 minutes, maybe. All of a sudden it went, boom. And I wrote it all down, and it was perfect. And I wound up recording it, and it worked great. There was another time I was one of my favorite songs that I wrote was called There Was a Time. And I think I wrote that song in 15 minutes.
Mm.
And
it came through you.
it came through. Yeah. That's exactly right. And that's what art does.
Yes.
It often comes from your heart.
It's God expressing itself through
Yes.
you. That's why we're here. We are the music of God.
Yes,
Hello.
we are. That's lovely. I love that. And there was times when, like I said, this one song, I was being driven to some talk show, and I'm in the back seat hearing this song, so I'm like writing really fast, writing really fast. And when I got there, it was a lot of traffic, as it is in LA, so I was a little bit late. And I ran in and they're like, oh, great, we're ready to go. I go, just give me 1 minute. And I ran over into this other room and wrote down the chorus and did. I said, now we can go. I had to finish the song. And it was that fast.
Yes. Yeah, because it was already written at a different level.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was just waiting to come through. You know, I think music as it is out there in the spheres, I'm a massive Van Morrison song. His music just go for me. And there's one CD in particular at the time in the 80s called Inarticulate Speech of the Heart. And it's just a fabulous.
Okay, gotta write that one down.
I strongly suggest listening to that. And he writes with such a spiritual fervor in that body of work. But there was this instrumental piece on that, and I can't remember the name of the song, but it was just one little piece of music that was in the background. It was a little, that was it. But it was a big song. And I kept hearing that over and over again. And I gave lyrics to that for myself in my mind. And that was just it. I didn't do anything with it. It's just because it wasn't my song. I just heard that little thing. Maybe 2 year later, what was the next one? It might have been a Poetic Champions Compose. He had that same piece of music, as happens with artists. Sometimes you use little bits in additional, and it was the exact lyrics.
As I felt this story coming out, I thought, no way. And it
was,
yeah.
It was, this love will always last forever. This love will always last always.
Oh my gosh.
And when I heard it, I went, say what? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I got that first. But that's what it is. It floats around out there. And sometimes it comes down and taps you on the shoulder, and sometimes you reach up and go, thank you.
Yes. And it's why you'll have two inventors coming up with the same thing at the same time in different parts of the world, even though it wasn't published. So where have your songs been played when you said, you had to get this to a producer for this or that?
Oh, well, I've got a couple of CDs out, and you can buy them on Amazon, Apple Music, Spotify. I don't know wherever you buy CD Baby, you can buy them. And I haven't been performing musically lately, but I got a message from Spirit, and it was a reminder to, bring your voice back.
Oh, nice.
Okay. And I am a freak for Christmas music. Like, I mean, I'll play Christmas music in July.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
people are like, I'm sorry, what's wrong with you? I'm like, nothing. I just love it. Listen to this
Joy.
song.
Boy, if people can't feel your joy, something is a little stuck. So just breathe, everybody, open up and soak this up, because it's part of the reason I wanted to have you on the show, Stepfanie. You radiate joy, you radiate an understanding at the deepest level of who we all are and how connected we are. And just being in the presence of that kind of energy is transformative. People will pick it up. So I'm sure that you're just uplifting people just by being here. And I thank
Well,
you.
thank you. Well, having brought up the Christmas thing, I think there's got to be a Christmas album in my future.
Yes, that's what I saw. That's where you're heading with that. No doubt.
Got to
People
do
love those. We need some new ones.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just a couple more questions. If you could sit with your younger self, any advice you'd tell her? Maybe the woman who was just beginning to star in the show Hunter.
Oh, I think I would go back to much younger than that.
Mm,
Yeah. Um, mm. Don't listen to the negative programming.
yeah.
Don't listen to negative programming. Don't worry about what other people think about you, because it ultimately doesn't matter.
That's true.
It really doesn't. You run around going, especially young people, regardless of their business, but narcissisms are very heavily layered in the entertainment business. And, I've worked with a lot of them, and you just kind of go, whoa, I'm going to go sit over here,
Good idea.
but the people that keep listening to the negative programming they got as a child into
Yeah.
their adulthood, and it stops them from growing and expanding in their heart and their mind and their body and their soul to a higher level, because they're crunched back. Make yourself smaller, make yourself diminished. Don't be nice, all that crap. Excuse
You
me.
know what just popped up into my mind as you said that? Do listen, but from a higher perspective,
Yes,
and then question it, right?
discernment.
Yeah. And
Discernment.
say, why am I believing this? Is this helping
Uh-huh.
me?
Or
Yeah.
why do I think that? Where did this come from?
Yeah, I
But
know that's what you were saying, but I just turned it
took me
on
a
it.
while to get there, sorry. But, but it's people, when I was younger, I wish I'd had more of that,
Mm.
but that's okay. It all served a purpose to get me where I am now. But
Oh,
if you're
yeah.
starting out and you're sitting there and you're wondering how do I, just gosh, like I said, just don't listen to the negative voices. Have discernment and listen to the ones that are empowering you to be the best that you can be on every level.
Yeah. Good for all of us at any age. Yeah.
Yeah, well, true, right?
Yeah.
It's so true. And it's like opinions, people that put a lot of stock in people's opinions. Or in my business, people were saying, for example, they'd come in and say, oh, did you see the numbers on the show this week? God, it's the highest rated show. Oh, isn't it great? I said, oh, yeah, don't you read the numbers every week? I go, no, I don't.
That's
What do
great.
you mean you don't? How could you not? I said, I have no control over that.
Mm.
I'm
Mm.
here to do the best I can do
Mm.
and put it out there and not be attached to the outcome, but enjoy the journey. Right? And if
That's how
people,
we live on my
yeah,
team for
if
sure.
people watch it, great. If they don't, they don't. My life goes on.
Mm. Oh, it's so freeing, Stepfanie.
Well, it is. You
Yeah.
free yourself from other people's attachments,
Hmm.
and it's just such a waste, it's just such a waste of energy, I think, to get caught up in that spiral and all of that stuff. And I'm like, I don't. I can remember being interviewed and people would say, how come we don't see you out at all the parties and going here and doing that? And I said, well, first of all, I'm too freaking tired, okay? Because the workload was enormous.
Yeah.
But also, that's very boring to me.
You didn't need it for the ego.
I didn't. And I found it sucking your energy and I'd be bored. It was like, I don't want to stand around and hear you talk about acting. I was like, check, please. It just didn't resonate with me. I love what I do, but I didn't need to be a part of the external infrastructure at that level. I
You
needed
know,
time for me just to be.
as you're speaking, I can't help but think you talked about your daughter Lily, and you said she's an old soul and very, advanced. I know your mother could have said the same thing about you, because you
Mm.
clearly came here for a mission that you've been aware of without possibly naming it as a mission, but you're definitely fulfilling it. Yeah.
Hey, hopefully, I'm doing my best today.
Wow. This
And
is
I'll keep on keeping on.
this is I've just been brought in as a trustee for the organization humanities team, and I want to talk about them more as I go forward in the future, because their mission is the same as mine, to make conscious living pervasive by 2040. That's a big goal, but I believe that when more people become conscious of who we are and how are connected we will have more people like you who do see the positive, who don't listen to the negative, who aren't so concerned about their ego, who are a positive force for change in our world. So
Yes,
thank
and
you for
everybody.
modeling that.
Oh, well, thank you for doing what it is you're doing because that's why we're here. I always said to my daughter, whatever you decide to do when you grow up, whatever you decide to do, as long as you're fulfilled and happy and it's a passionate connection for you, but above all, you know, um, make a positive difference in the world,
Mm.
no matter what it is you do. And one little thing I used to do when she was little is when she laid in, go to sleep at night, and I would always write a little word on her forehead with my finger. I say, close your eyes. What did I write? And she'd say, joy. I said, yes. And that's your birthright. Or what did I write? Love. Yes. And that's
Wow.
so it's like, just when you can be a mother to a child that's open to receive that information also, but even if they're not, help guide them to. I mean, it's the simpler things to help shift the mind,
This
don't you
is
think?
this is the butterfly effect again here, Stepfanie, because people say we need to change the world, but it really does happen one soul at a time, one interaction at a time. And then that radiates outward. This will be the way humanity is, perhaps much farther in the future than we would like, but this is how it's going to happen.
And something you said that's is very prominent throughout my life today still, when you were asking about how this has worked in my world when in acting, especially on that series. Unbeknownst to me, because of the type of role I played, I was, and I still am, constantly stopped all over the world. And in like a supermarket, in an airport, a woman will come up to me in a restaurant. When I go and do Comic Cons and meet fans, and they'll hand me these letters, pages of letters, and they'll say, you changed my life. And to say, because of you, I learned how to have the strength to leave my abusive husband. Because of you, I became an attorney. Because of you, I went into law enforcement. I wanted to make a difference. I learned how to stand on my own 2 feet and be my own empowered females. And I mean, I didn't intentionally have that
Yes.
working in my head,
Yeah.
but I'm grateful, forever grateful that that role, which just put me in a position to be able to, like we said, use our position of what we're doing to go out and make a positive difference in the world. And in this case, it really made the difference in the lives of a lot of women. And for that, I'm most grateful.
Wow. Well, I know I speak for everybody that just listened to this episode, that we're grateful you came on and shared that positivity with us. It's not Pollyanna Kumbaya. It is what will change the world. Try it, everybody. Just
I
try it.
think so much of you. I think you're so wonderful. So I'm so happy I got to come and join you today.
Yeah. So everybody, you now have some homework, right? Go out and change somebody every day. And And what word would you write on your forehead as you go to sleep?
Yes,
All
yes.
right.
And sometimes if there's nobody there to hug you when you're bad, when you're feeling bad, don't forget sometimes you just have to hold your own hand. And that's okay too.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Stepfanie.
Thank
It was a
you.
delight. Thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, and we'll see you back here next week.